I am told that we are on page 738 and we have to read the para for if we look. It seems we have already read it, but we will go sentence by sentence. Okay? Shall I start?
Yes, Rangada.
Okay.
Yes, Rangada.
Okay, I start. He has already told us, if you remember, that there are two evolutions. One is a biological evolution, where the biological body of the individual is being made more and more subtle, more and more powerful, and more capable of housing a higher consciousness. So, there is the evolution of consciousness. Very obviously you can see that. But there is also an evolution of biological bodies. From the worm, which has got nothing, to the caterpillar, to the dog, cat, finally human being is capable even of spiritual knowledge. And the consciousness also is rising. So as the consciousness rises, there must be a proportionately developed body which will be able to bring down, which will allow that consciousness to come into itself. It's very obvious that a mental consciousness cannot come down into a worm. So that's exactly what we are looking now for. For if we look not at the scientific or physical aspects, which is the biological evolution, but at the psychological side of the question and inquire in what precisely the difference lies, we shall see that it consists in the rise of consciousness to another principle of being. Okay? So consciousness also can have material consciousness, vital consciousness, mental consciousness, spiritual consciousness, supermental consciousness. So the consciousness also is rising from one level to another level. Okay? To another principle of being. The metal is fixed in the inconscient and inanimate principle of matter. Okay? He is looking at what normally appears to be, because we know that in the metal there is also the consciousness of the highest is also there involved. But he is not asking, he is not discussing that aspect of the question. Okay? The material is fixed in the inconscient and inanimate principle of matter. Even if we suppose that it has some reactions suggestive of life in it, or at least of rudimentary vibrations that in the plant developed into life, still it is not at all characteristically a form of life. Okay? Very clearly saying that even if you consider that there are some vibrations, okay, in the metal, we know that. For instance, there are semi-precious stones. Okay, they are capable of emitting vibrations which are conducive to you, which are very useful to you. That's why people tell you, wear a yellow stone or wear a red stone. In the rings that mother used to give us, there used to be a red stone in the middle of the symbol. Okay? So they are useful. Even plants even rose petals can have vibration. They emit vibrations. The same way saying, even if you grant that, okay, it still is not characteristically, it is not life. For instance, it does not move, it does not grow, it remains exactly the same. So that's what it's saying. The plant is fixed in a subconscious action of the principle of life. So there also, plant, there is a principle of life, but it is subconscious. In man, the consciousness is willed. You can will it, but in the plant there is no will. Okay? There may be a will which is very rudimentary. That is possible. Because otherwise how would it grow? There is some sort of will in it, but that's very, very rudimentary. Okay? So, the plant is fixed in a subconscious action and principle of life. Not that it is not subject to matter or devoid of reactions that find their full meaning only in mind. In other words, even the plant, okay, it is not the double negative. Not that it is not subject to matter. Okay. That means it is subject to matter and devoid of reactions that find their full meaning only in mind. Okay. So there are vibrations which can be developed into mind, even in the plant. That's what he's saying. That's what I meant by will. Okay. There is some sort of will to grow. For it seems to have submental reactions that in us are the foundation of pleasure and pain, or of attraction and repulsion. So, this is a whole subject actually. And there is a book called The Secret Life of Plants. Okay. And plants do have vibrations of pleasure and pain. We know that because they have experimented with the plants. When you praise and look at with admiration at plants, there is a pleasure that they have. Okay? And that is the reason why you should be very conscious with plants. Okay? You should not casually tear off leaves and things like that. They suffer. There is a suffering. And that suffering can be measured by waves. Okay? They put a machine with electrodes, they put it in a plant and then give it certain reaction, electrical. There is a reaction that comes which can be recorded on oscillograph. And these are typical. The oscillograph pattern will always be the same if it is electricity is given. That means there is a pain. It will be similar every time. So there is a law that operates. So plants also feel pleasure and pain. Okay? And we know that, we discussed that last time. The mimosa. The mimosa retreats. It goes back into itself. It pulls itself back when you touch it. So they are capable of, in fact there is a little fear also of what the touch is going to be. So that is the same way saying there is a submental reaction in plants which can develop into mind. And in mind, very clearly you have pleasure and pain, attraction and repulsion. But it is there in a very, very primary, in a very primitive form in the plant also. But still, it's a form of life, not of mere matter. Nor is it, so far as we know, where is it gone? Yeah, nor is it, so far as we know at all, a mind-conscious being. The plant is certainly not capable of mental operations. Man and the animal, now he has come to the animal. Man and the animal are both mentally conscious beings. But the animal is fixed in vital mind and sense mind, mind sense. Mind sense is what you call in Indian philosophy, you call it the, I forget all these words now. The mind sense is, I'll remember, it'll come to vital mind and mind sense. And cannot exceed its limitation. There is a fixity. The animal has a vital mind and a physical mind also. Okay. It's a physical mind also. Manas is the word. It has a physical mind, which is manas. So everyone is talking about the vital mind and mind sense. Okay, mind sense. The vital mind and the physical mind. These are all what he is talking about. And cannot exceed its limits. While man has received into his sense mind the light of another principle, the intellect, which is really at once a reflection and a degradation of the supermind. So, again, he is now telling about the logic that you use, the processes of mentalization, the intellectuality is actually a fallen condition of supermind. That's what it is. Which is really at once a reflection and a degradation of the supermind. A ray of gnosis seized by the sense mentality and transformed by it into something other than its source. We have already discussed, remember the chapter heading is Ascent and Integration. So, when one principle is arising out of another, it does not reject the lower. It takes it into itself. Okay. And then, so man has taken into himself matter, and he has taken into himself life. But he has also got mentality. He has got logical mind. And when you keep going up, logical mind also comes in. But it's not the logic of the mental. The logic of the mental is very limited. But when you go into the spiritual planes of consciousness, logic is there, but it's not a mental logic. There's a reason for everything that happens. That you could call the logic, spiritual logic. And finally, supramental logic. Logic doesn't disappear, but it exceeds its limits. When you go to supramental or even the spiritual. Then, while man has received into his sense mind the light of another principle, the intellect, which is really at once a reflection and degradation of the supermind. A ray of gnosis seized by the sense mentality. The sense mentality is receiving into itself the vibrations of the supermind. That is in man, okay, and that also not in all men, okay. So, and transformed by it into something other than its source. For it is agnostic, like the sense mind, in which and for which it works, not gnostic. It seeks to lay hold on knowledge because it does not possess it. There you go. So mind is agnostic, means it is not fully knowledgeable. Okay, it doesn't have full knowledge, like the sense mind, in which and for which it works, not gnostic. It seeks to lay hold on knowledge, mind, because it does not possess it. So that's why it tries to get it. It tries to develop intellectuality. It does not, like supermind, hold the knowledge in itself as its natural prerogative. In other words, when you go to the highest level, you don't have to seek for knowledge, it is already there. So Ranga gives a very interesting example. He says that our normal mind, okay, the normal mental mind logic is like a dark room candlelit. It is lit by a candle, something you can make out. Okay? In the physical mind, there is darkness in mind, mostly darkness. But in the candlelit room, it is like the logic of man. Okay? Then, when you go to the spiritual planes of consciousness, the higher mind, the logic that is replaced by a daylight. It becomes like daylight. And as you keep going up to the intuition, it becomes a lightning light. The light becomes like lightning. So, and as you go into supermind, it becomes a blazing sun itself. This is how he describes. So light goes on increasing, the light of consciousness, that increases. There is a gradation. He's talking of the gradation. In the modification of a lower by a higher, no, let me go back to it. The problem is the sentences are so long. Okay. I go back to, now that we have discussed it, I go back to reading the man and the animal. Okay. Page 739, the highest line. Man and the animal are both mentally conscious beings. But the animal is fixed in the vital mind. Remember that mentality, the plane of mentality has got three levels because it is percolating into the lower. You have a vital mind, you have a physical mind, which is manas, you have a vital mind, and you have a mind proper. So man has got the mind proper, but the animal has got the vital mind and sense mind and cannot exceed its limitations. Whereas man can exceed its limitations. That extra power is there. While man has received into his sense mind the light of another principle, the intellect, which is really at once a reflection and a degradation of the supermind. Okay, so now I've read that several times, so we'll go back to the next sentence. In other words, in each of these forms of existence, the universal being has fixed its action of consciousness in a different principle, or as between man and animal, in the modification of a lower by a higher, though still not a highest grade principle. It is this stride from one principle of being to another, quite different principle of being, that creates the transitions, the furrows, the sharp lines of distance, and makes not all the difference, but still a radical characteristic difference between being and being in their nature. So the plant has only got a life element. The animal has got a physical mind element. Man has got a mental mind. You can say a mental mind element. The spiritual man has got something which is beyond logic, extra logic if you want. So there is this gradation and each one is quite distinct from each other. You can certainly make out the behavior of an animal as distinct from that of man. Okay. That's what he's saying in the paragraph that we read just now. So, I'm being disturbed by some. I don't want all this nonsense. Sorry, there's a disturbance, all sorts of disturbances are coming on the. They are asking me to buy this, buy that. So, okay. Now, 7:30. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of time because life divine. Ma. Yeah. Yeah. I think I've got it now. So we have to read the. Oh, I was going to read the summary, huh? Just 1 second. Yeah. So what we read just now, this is summary. If there is a hidden continuity among the various levels, what is common to all of them? It is to be found in the rise of consciousness. The consciousness is common to all the stages from matter up to mind. The metal is inconscient, inanimate, even if the primary vibrations of life are dimly present. These life stirrings become visible in plant life. It lives, it is born, it grows and develops and dies. The plant is subconscious life. Again, the plant does not seem to have any reaction to attraction and repulsion, which in man and animal become pleasure and pain, liking and disliking. Both man and animal are mentally conscious. The latter, that's animal, is fixed in physical and vital mind, while man has reason. Ranga calls that a reason, or a pure mind, which is at once both reflection and degradation of the principle of supermind. But mind in man is ignorant. It seeks knowledge. It does not possess it, like the supermind. Thus, it is consciousness which is common to all the grades, and it is constantly growing in stature, capacity, luminosity. It is this that creates a gulf between the ascending grades. So, this is what is said in the para. Now, we go to the next para. Somebody has to read, but it must be observed that this ascent. So, who can read? Sima has not read for a long time. If you have the text, you can read.
Okay, Dada.
Okay, go ahead. But it
must be observed that this ascent, this successive fixing in higher and higher principles, does not carry with it the abandonment of the lower grades, any more than a status of existence in the lower grades means the entire absence of the higher principles. This heals the objection against the evolutionary theory created by these sharp lines of difference. First, if the rudiments of the higher are present in the lower creation, and the lower characters are taken up into the higher evolved being, that of itself constitutes an indubitable evolutionary process. What is necessary is a working that brings the lower gradation of being to a point at which the higher can manifest in it. At that point, a pressure from some superior plane where the new power is dominant may assist towards a more or less rapid and decisive transition by a bound or a series of bounds. A slow, creeping, imperceptible, or even occult action is followed by a run and an evolutionary saltus across the border. It is in some such way that the transition from the lower to higher grades of consciousness seems to have been made in nature.
Quite a small para, nothing much, okay? So, he's using very interesting words. We'll have to look at that very carefully. Now he's saying, okay, there is a gradation from lower to higher. Lower to higher of what? Of consciousness. Okay? So, but it must be observed that this ascent, this successive fixing in higher and higher principles does not carry with it the abandonment of the lower grades. Now this is a very important principle because when we come to the spiritual life also, it becomes of a very great importance. Let's just briefly discuss that. When the life is coming into matter, matter is not disappearing. Life is taking into itself matter, or rather matter is taking itself into life. Both are true. Life also is taking matter into itself, and matter also is taking life into itself and becomes a living creature. Okay? Now, when the higher type of animal comes, it is capable of certain minimum logic. Okay? We know that animals use minimum logic, but it is not rejecting matter and life. It is taking in. So when we come to the spiritual plane of consciousness also, the spiritual man at present is rejecting matter and life and mind. He is rejecting. But the real evolution will not reject matter, life, mind. In other words, the supramental race will still have a body, but that body will be now capable of housing a higher consciousness. And what will be the nature of the body? I recommend you to read the supramental manifestation. Okay? It's the last writing that Srimad did, because he was asked by mother to write a bulletin, and he wrote the supramental manifestation. The body, the supramental body, he has discussed there quite at length. It should be capable of all sorts of powers that the physical body does not have in man even. Okay? It should be capable of conquering death. It should be capable of manifesting itself by will. Right now, even man, even the avatar, is born in a biological way. But the supramental race will be able to manifest its own body by an act of consciousness. Then it will be free of disease. All these details are there. So, but it will still be matter. Remember that. It will still be matter, but matter transformed by the supramental principle. That becomes of great importance. As what Srimad is saying, when the higher is rising from the lower, it is not rejecting the lower. That is a big mistake that Indian yogis were making at one time. They were rejecting the lower. But now it is not like that. Abandonment of the lower, does not carry with the abandonment of the lower grades. Any more than a status of existence in the lower grades means the entire absence of the higher principles, which means evolution. Even in matters when they are saying, there is supermind, there is spiritual consciousness, there is mentality, and there is life. It's like a collapsible telescope, if you want. Okay? Each one is coming out with the other. All are involved in matter. One by one, if you pull out like a telescope, it goes on coming out, but does not reject the. This heals the objection against the evolutionary theory created by these sharp lines of difference. For if the rudiments of the higher are present in the lower creation, and the lower characters are taken up into the higher evolved being, that itself constitutes an indubitable evolutionary process. Indubitable without doubt. Doubtless. Okay? Undoubted. Okay? Dubitable. It cannot be argued against. What is so? This is very clear now. The evolution is already, the evolution is there, and evolution is only pulling out all the elements one by one. As I said, like the collapsible telescope. Okay? You see, na? You just press like that, the whole thing becomes small. As you keep going on, more and more power you want in the telescope, you go on pulling out one by one. It's exactly like that. Okay? So, what is necessary is a working that brings the lower gradation of being to a point at which the higher can manifest in it. At that point, a pressure from some superior plane, where the new power is dominant, may assist towards a more or less rapid and decisive transition by a bound or a series of bounds. The word bound here does not mean limit. It means a jump. He is bounding like a hound, you say. Huh? So a bound is a jump or a series of bounds. It jumps several times. We gave examples of a bound, several bounds. The plant becomes capable of life by becoming a carnivorous plant. It becomes capable of sensitiveness like the mimosa plant. So these are the bounds that Spirit is talking about. A slow, creeping, imperceptible or even occult action is followed by a run, and an evolutionary saltus. Saltus is a jump, okay, a big jump across the board. So let's look at that very carefully what he said. The worm is a life element, but it is not capable of mind yet. So what happens? Slowly nature is creating a being which is slightly more than a worm. Let us say a caterpillar. Okay? Then the caterpillar also is now sensitive. It can It is slightly more evolved because a worm cannot change itself, but a caterpillar can change itself. From a pupa, it becomes a caterpillar and then it becomes a moth. So slight more capacity has come into the caterpillar than the worm. So exactly like that, Swami is saying, now it is capable of little more than that of a worm. Then finally it becomes something else. It becomes even slowly lower animals. It becomes a cat. Okay, now the cat is even capable of thinking. So what was there hidden in the worm increases and becomes a caterpillar, and a caterpillar slowly develops mind also, but very rudimentary mind. And even there you can see that intelligence in animals also is graded. There are animals which are of a much higher grade. So what's happening? Nature is slowly pushing the animal form towards mentality. And then you have the chimpanzees, you have the elephants, and you have the dolphins, which are capable of logic and even mental operations. And finally, there is a bound, and you get man. Man is capable now of full intelligence, which the highest animals also did not have. Okay, that's exactly what he's saying. He's saying, what is necessary is the working that brings a lower gradation of being to a point at which the higher can manifest in. At that point, a pressure from some superior plane where the new power is dominant. So what's your hint to that? First of all, there is matter, the world of matter. Then there is the world of life. Then there is the world of mind. Then there is the world of light, etc. The higher is always pushing on the lower. And the involution, the power that is there already, life is wanting to come out of the matter. Life is wanting to come out of matter. It is willing to come out of matter in a very dumb way. Okay? So, you have two forces for evolution. One is a evolutionary force. Life is trying its best to come out from matter. And on the other hand, the higher plane of life which is there is pressing down on the matter so that life comes out. So, this is like, exactly like, if you take two glasses of water and join them with a rubber tube at the bottom, the two glasses are connected. So you pour water in one, it becomes level on both. But if you, with your hand or something, you press one bottle or glass, the other rises. So when life is pressing on matter, life is likely to come out of matter. This is the evolution is a double process. There is an inward pull, an upward pull and a downward pressure. That's what it is. There is a working that he's talking about. It is in some such way that the transition from the lower to higher grades of consciousness seems to have been made in nature. Now, we still have 7 minutes, so we can read. I think Kiran can read the next one. In fact, life, mind, supermind. He's going to talk about evolution. Involution.
Yes. In fact, life, mind, supermind are present in the atom, are at work there, but invisible, occult, latent in the subconscious or apparently unconscious action of the energy. There is an informing spirit, but the outer force and figure of being, what we might call the formal or form existence as distinguished from the immanent or secretly governing consciousness, is lost in the physical action, is so absorbed into it as to be fixed in a stereotyped self-oblivion and unaware of what it is and what it is doing. The electron and atom are in this view eternal somnambulists. Each material object contains an outer or form consciousness involved, absorbed in the form, asleep, seeming to be an unconsciousness driven by an unknown and unfelt inner existence. He who is awake in the sleeper, the universal inhabitant of the Upanishads, an outer absorbed form consciousness which, unlike that of the human somnambulist, has never been awake and is not always or ever on the point of waking. In the plant, this outer form consciousness is still in the state of sleep, but a sleep full of nervous dreams, always on the point of waking, but never waking. Life has appeared. In other words, force of concealed conscious being has been so much intensified, has raised itself to such a height of power as to develop or become capable of a new principle of action, that which we see as vitality, life force. It has become vitally responsive to existence, though not mentally aware, and has put forth a new grade of activities of a higher and subtler value than any purely physical action. At the same time, it is capable of receiving and turning into these new life values into motion and phenomenon of vibration of vitality, life contacts and physical contacts from other forms than its own and from universal nature. This is a thing which forms of mere matter cannot do. They cannot turn contacts into life values or any kind of value, partly because their power of reception, although it exists if occult evidence is to be trusted, is not sufficiently awake to do anything but dumbly receive and imperceptibly react, partly because the energies transmitted by the contacts are too subtle to be utilized by the crude inorganic density of formed matter. Life in the tree is determined by its physical body, but it takes up the physical existence and gives it a new value or system of values, the life value.
So, quite a big para, where we are expanding on the idea. We have already seen that this is how the evolution is taking place. But the whole principle becomes a totally different thing, which the scientists don't have. That is, there is already an involution. And if involution is not there, how can an evolution take place? If there is nothing in matter, there cannot be anything. It will be dead. Nothing can come out of nothing. That's the principle. Nothing can come out of nothing. Already it must be there, and it can come out if it is already there. Okay? So that's exactly what we're discussing here in great detail. But this little bit of repetition is there in what he's saying, but he's explaining more. Okay. So we have only 2 minutes left. So we can't do this today. We have read it, but I can do one thing, which we can get in gist form. Just one second. Yeah, I'll do one thing. I'll quickly read out the summary. Okay. In the same way, the secret inherent force with increasing intensity reaches a breaking point and mentality is born. That's exactly what we discussed just now. Mentality is already trying to be born in higher animals. As I said, in chimpanzees and in dolphins and elephants. These are all very intelligent animals. Okay? So, in the same way, the secret inherent force is increasing in intensity, reaching a breaking point, and mentality is born. The animal can do things which the plant cannot. The animal is aware of its existence, its own and that of others. Its activities are more numerous, mental, vital, physical. It develops senses, sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. It has instincts, which have secret nature's automatic guidance. But it has also memory, willings, emotions, feelings, which the plant doesn't seem to have. It doesn't have memory and willings and emotions. Emotions, yes, but not memory and willings. The animal has cunning, intelligence, planning. It adapts to new circumstances. The animal is nature's laboratory in which it experiments and prepares human intelligence. I have put in a different words what he's saying. Okay, so we'll stop here today, 8:40, but we will redo this next time. So I'll also make a note now. I have got Page 741. The transition. I make a note. I've got an index for everybody now. Page 741. And we'll read from the transition. Okay, everybody.
Ranga, the transition is the next paragraph, no?
That's right. So that's what we have to. Oh, acha, we have to redo, huh?
We have to redo.
Okay. Redo. Yeah, you're right.
I'm making a note, Ranga. I'm making a note.
Okay. Good. So am I. Yeah.
The page number is also different, Ranga. 739.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Redo previous. Okay. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you, Ranga.
Okay.
Thank you, Ranga.
Dada,
Next time, Jishnu, you will read.
Yes,
Dada,
Yes. Seema, tell me.
Dada, one question, one doubt. Actually, I have now got the clarity that manas is the physical mind, and I am always getting the word that mahat,
Manas is not the
M-A-H-A-T, mahat.
Mahas.
So can you please, mahat, mahat.
M-A-H-A-S. Is that it?
Yes, mahas, exactly. Can you please explain it?
Mahas is supermind.
Oh, that is supermind. Mahas is what is? Okay. Thank you, Dada. Thank you.
Mahas is supermind.
Thank you.
Mahat also sometimes, right? Because that's the vibhaktis. Mahas is supermind. Okay?
Are over, Dada. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.